Welcome to the Moved to Meditate podcast. I'm your host, Addie D. Hilster. This is a place for vibrant discussions about mindfulness, movement practices, and ways to find more balance and presence in daily life. Here you'll find resources to help you progress on your path, as well as insightful conversations with mindful movement, yoga, meditation, and Dharma teachers from a range of traditions. On this podcast, we spotlight embodied approaches to mindfulness and the more contemplative aspects of movement practice. Listen in and connect to a community of like-minded practitioners. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. This is going to be a quick update episode and a preview of some of what's to come in 2024. I will be taking a holiday break from the podcast in December so that I can get organized for upcoming episodes in the new year. Plus, I want to get going on a big new project, which I will tell you a little more about in a moment. But first, there are some really interesting podcast guests coming up. I just recorded an interview yesterday with Neil Pearson, who is an expert on pain care and using the tools of yoga and mindfulness to holistically address pain. It is such an informative conversation, and I'm excited to share that one with you in January. I also have an interview scheduled with Sue Hutton, who specializes in neurodiversity-informed mindfulness practices. I can't wait to record that one and learn more about her work adapting meditation techniques for neurodiverse minds. And there are more fascinating conversations in the works that I'm not quite ready to tell you about yet because they're not confirmed yet. But it's safe to say that I'm getting really excited about what's coming up on the podcast early next year. I would also like to take this opportunity to say thank you to all of my amazing podcast guests in 2023 who generously shared their time and knowledge here. If you missed some of those conversations, this is a great time to go back and listen to our guests for this year. We talked about mindfulness mentors, green exercise and mindfulness in nature, yin yoga for chronic pain, sound healing and voice therapy, the therapeutic havening technique, yoga in the juvenile justice system, taming the inner critic, mindfulness for ADHD, and more. And it's also a great time to say thank you to those of you who have been listening this year. The podcast has really grown in the past year. The number of downloads basically doubled from where it was this time in 2022. And that is thanks to all of you. I am so grateful because I learned so much from these conversations. And it's really good to know that there are others out there like me who are interested in these topics. I do take requests, by the way, so if there's a topic related to mindful movement or meditation that you'd like to hear more about, or a question you'd like me to address, or a guest that you think would be great here, let me know. You can send me a message on my website, which is movedtomeditate.yoga. Okay, so what is this big project that I mentioned before? I'm actually kind of nervous to put this out there, but I'm working on a book. The working title of the book is Teaching Mindful Movement. So it's going to pull together many of the themes you've heard about here on the podcast, as well as some of the topics from the mindful movement teacher training that I lead. And I've been wanting to put these ideas together into a user-friendly format, like a book, for anyone who wants to use mindful movement practices as an accessible method for teaching mindfulness meditation skills. I'm planning to self-publish this because I just want to get it out there, and I'm not sure I want to go through the whole process, which takes time, of trying to submit it to publishers and waiting to hear back and doing that whole thing. I'd really like to launch the book sometime next year, ideally before the next round of the Mindful Movement Teacher Training, which starts in the fall, because I'd love to have it serve as our training manual. So I'm kind of nervous telling you this because now it's out there and it makes it feel a little more real. And it is a bit daunting to think about the time commitment and the focus that I need to put into getting this done. The good news is that I already have a lot written, and that's why I think it's doable this year. I wrote about 15,000 words on an earlier version of this idea in the beginning of 2020, which got shelved as soon as the pandemic hit, and I had to figure out how my brick and mortar yoga studio was going to work as a Zoom yoga studio. And I still hate that word pivot because of that experience, by the way. In the end, though, I have a head start on the book now, and I'm kind of glad it got an extra few years to marinate. It's certainly going to be better now because of all that I've learned through the podcast and the way that the podcast has been a vehicle for me to practice thinking through and writing about my ideas. It all feels more focused and refined now. So wish me luck. Right now, I'm just getting organized and going through the writings that I already have, seeing what's missing, and planning a format and outline. I'll keep you posted as I hopefully progress. Okay, lastly, I'll preview a few events and ways that we can practice together in 2024. In January, I'm going to be running my Ease into Meditation course, which is a movement-first approach to learning mindfulness. It's an 8-week course. The videos come out one day a week, so you get to do it on your own time, but there is some opportunity for connection and support with me. And topic-wise, it is very similar to any Mindfulness Meditation 101 course that you might take, but the difference is the movement practices we use to introduce the mindfulness skills and that prepare you for meditation and stillness. And then in the spring, I'll be offering a half-day retreat incorporating mindful movement and meditation, and that'll be open to anyone. It will be online, and you can participate at home and take some time for a deeper dive into your practice. The first half-day retreat will be in March or April, and if there's enough interest, I would love to offer some other half-day retreats like every few months. So we'll see how that goes. If you're interested in either of those practice opportunities, the best way to stay informed is to be on my newsletter list. I send it out a few times a month, and I promise it's not spammy or overwhelming. You can sign up on my website at movedtomeditate.yoga. Just go look for the little newsletter sign up box. The registration for the Ease into Meditation course will open sometime in December, and I'll also be announcing the half-day retreat sometime soon. So newsletter subscribers will be the first to know. Okay, with all of that, with those reflections and aspirations for what's to come, I'm wishing you a peaceful holiday season and restful end of the year. We can stay in touch on Instagram or Threads over the next few weeks until the podcast returns in January. So be well until then. So that's today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, please share it with a friend, subscribe on YouTube, or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and help others find it that way. To learn more about my work, the Moved to Meditate class library, courses, or teacher trainings, go to movedtomeditate.yoga. This is Addie D. Hilster. Thanks so much for listening.